Hello, and welcome to the Think Manly podcast, the show where we unpack the personal and professional growth journey from some of the most interesting minds in marketing and business. And today we have none other than Chloe Jacobs. Chloe, for those that are unfamiliar with you, would you care to give yourself a little introduction?
Yes, hello. My name is Chloe, and I am the founder of Proscenium Stage School and a retired musical theatre performer.
Lovely stuff. Well, we were just talking there before we start recording that. I mean, for those that do know me and have watched a few of these before, it's like, how does he shoe in that he used to be an actor all the time? No one cares. No one cares what you used to do. It's all about what you
I
do now.
care.
No, but I'd say why I find this conversation or the upcoming conversation fascinating is that you have, in one sense, had similar journeys of went and studied performance, drama school, all of that fun stuff there, gone into the professional performing world, and then moved into. I say you've stayed within it. You've stayed with it. I've
Yeah.
absolutely left. I'm not part of it whatsoever. But the commonalities, there's parallels in that journey and some of the psychology that's involved. And so my first question for you is you've gone through that journey of moving from performer to, I don't say professional, but to the more formal side. But what was the moment when you decided, okay, I'm going to step out of the performing side and I'm going to set up Proscenium? What was the catalyst for that? What was that journey like for you?
Yeah, so I guess being a musical theatre performer comes with its upsides and downsides all the time. And one of the biggest downsides for me was I was very successful and I had contract after contract. But every time you get to the end of a contract, you feel this anxiety like bubbling in your stomach of what am I doing next? I'm going back to my parents' house. I am going back to where my hometown is, and I have nothing. It's not like you're guaranteed a next contract or you're guaranteed your next role or, oh, you've done an incredible job in London. You're straight back to zero after every contract. So I have done, like, when I look at my CV, I always laugh because the amount of jobs that I have done from like being, I think, 16 to 21 years old is absolutely ridiculous. I was a shop girl. I worked in a golf club bar. I was a key holder at Kurt Geiger. I was a princess for princess parties. Like any job that you could think of, I think I have done that job. I remember one of my worst jobs ever was promotional work, and I had to stand in Sky, in the office of Sky, with a sign that said free hugs just in their cafeteria. And I literally stood in the corner of this place. I was getting £100, so I knew that like there was money going in my bank, but the honest to God, the pang of just what am I doing here? Like I have literally just come from a London theatre and I'm now standing in the corner of Sky offering free hugs. So for me, that there was a point where it just got to, I don't want to do that anymore. And how on earth do I support my amazing career with something that is sustainable and that can kind of fund my life when I'm in a job and when I'm out of a job. So Proscenium kind of came from that, where a lot of my friends were going through the exact same as I was. And I thought, well, if I start a theatre school where I can essentially give myself a job when I'm out of work, but also when I'm in work, give my friends a job. So it was very much like I started this business. We were in Exercise for Less in Livingston, and within like 3 weeks of my school being open, we had three kids, which was to me like, oh my gosh, this is actually income that is going to be there like all the time now. I've
Yeah,
got
yeah.
three kids paying a subscription to me. Within 3 weeks of that setting up, I got a tour for Shark in the Park, which is a kid's storybook. And I was going off like UK and Ireland I was gone. So I
Mhm,
was like,
yeah.
okay, this actually came a little bit quicker than I thought it was going to come. I need to find a friend who's going to take this over whilst I leave. So my friend Lucy came in and she started teaching from me. And I went on tour and the money was still coming in. I was able to pay a friend of mine to keep the school running. And it was sustainable because when I came back from tour, I had a job to go into. So, and we kind of knew that that was what it was going to be for a while. And that's kind of where the idea came from. And it just grew and grew from there.
So part of my so a very similar experience, by the way. Little
Yeah.
anecdote was not quite the free hugs extent. That's quite so yeah, but
It gives me shivers.
it's for those for those that know, they know. But some of the jobs you do in between are so like dehumanizing. Like you're just going, I am here like for the paycheck, totally that. But it was there was a and it really is not quite as big as the free hugs part. It was just a what am I doing here? Was the
Yeah.
it was I come off a tour of a play called The Crucible, and which is
Hmm.
like very heavy and very actor thespian. And
Yeah.
like so to come off of that and like I really don't like no ego here. It was just like, oh wow, the highs and then the lows straight afterwards of coming off that were like, as you say, like the UK and Ireland tours, all the fun stuff, and then come back and I was like, I was working at this event that just like you had just hold the coats, but
Yeah.
like so it doesn't sound too bad until you find out that the cloakroom was locked for whatever reason. So I just had to hold these people's coats. And so I was just a
Oh
human
my God.
coat stand for I don't know about two,
It
three
is
hours.
just
I was just
brutal, isn't it?
yep, I was just holding them going, I really like, I don't know how many more quotes I can hold because there's
Yeah.
quite a few of them. I must have had in my arms about 15 coats, which thankfully, like,
Oh
there
my
were, like, suit
gosh.
jackets, so wasn't too
Yeah.
bad. But I was just going, "Wha what are we doing
What
here?"
am I doing
Anyways,
here?
so, the things you'll do just to, like, fund yourself as you keep going.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
when you had trained, and so part of my job for preparing for these sessions is basically to scour people's LinkedIn and see what I can find out about them and see things that they may have forgotten that they said, right? And
Gosh,
then go
okay.
like, "Okay, cool." But no, that's not it's
Yeah.
nothing damning or anything like that. It was, you've said that you wanted to give children the same sort of experience or at least level quality of training that you'd
Mhm.
received elsewhere, and that you're going to try and set that up with Proscenium.
Mhm.
So how did you identify the gap that Proscenium could fill, and how do you describe the gap that Proscenium fills within the current context of um, I say performance arts training, but we're talking like your music, dance, acting,
Mhm.
confidence building as well. How did you identify that?
Well, when I was, it must have been about 6, I got into theatre because there was like a local youth theatre in the local high school, and I absolutely adored it. And from there, we kind of looked in West Lothian for a theatre club that wasn't just an amateur dramatics club, that was somewhere that could actually teach the technique of what you do when you're on the stage. And there was nothing. There was absolutely nothing in West Lothian. So my dad actually found a newspaper article for UK Theatre School, which was through in Glasgow. And I was in an extremely fortunate position that my parents could pay for me to go through to Glasgow, but it came with so many sacrifices for my parents that my mum was driving me 4 times a week through to Glasgow, sitting in Glasgow, reading a book in her car in the freezing cold, or, there was just there was money there to pay for me to go to theatre school, but then she would have to sit in the car. There's not money there to go for a coffee every night or to go shopping or do something nice for herself. And I always realized how big a sacrifice that had on my family, and especially my sister in particular, because she didn't have an interest like me, which was go out and do something. She was extremely arty and became a playground architect. So there was nothing, she sacrificed a lot of my mum being a taxi for her to go to a friend's
Right.
house or do things like that. Um, and the quality that I received there, like, it still amazes me to this day because I was in like theatre school with Tom Hunter's son, Adam Hunter, and kids who went to Hutchison Grammar School, and these incredible, like, kids were getting dropped off in chauffeured taxis. Like, it was chauffeured limousines. It was absolutely insane the type of people that I was kind of mingling with at theatre school. But I realized so quickly that what I had there did not fit in with what I went to school, like, the people that I went to school with, and
Mhm, mhm.
they were completely separate worlds, and for a reason, because when I look, there was just nothing here that you could access. So, basically, when I started college, and then it was, okay, my parents have to pay for this as well. Like, I went to Motherwell College for a year, and the training that I was getting at Motherwell, I felt like I had gone backwards because I was getting less hours there than I was when I was going to theatre school. So I decided that I was going to go to a private college, which a lot of theatre and musical theatre performers kind of need a name behind them of the school that they've went to,
Yep,
or they
yeah.
need to be seen as being in a private school, which I think for me was extremely cheap compared to a London school, but it's still like
Mhm.
£8,000 a year, which
Yep.
to a lot of people is extremely inaccessible. Um, so when I left, I realized that one of my biggest passions, and it always has been, is I'm extremely proud to be from Whitburn, and like, I've mingled with some incredible talents in Whitburn and West Lothian that have luckily managed to be successful in their career by being so um resilient because of where they've grown up. Um and to be able to offer something to children and young people in West Lothian. And there still isn't much for children and young people here. And to build a business that will hopefully one day be able to, well, and now we've got kids who are off to theatre schools and colleges, and it does feel just that I'm giving back. And do you know, it's funny because I feel like a lot of it is giving back to the parents as well. Like, I'm allowing parents to drop their kids off and go back home and have a coffee in their house, or they don't have to juggle as much as my parents ever did. And their children will hopefully still get a training that is as good quality as I received, or if they were in a big city. So yeah.
It's funny that you said that about the essentially the accessibility and the cost that is quite prohibitive for other children or families be able to get in
Yeah.
there. Admittedly, mine is quite a few moons ago, but we had the
Mm,
exact same, or my family had the exact same situation where um, this is going to absolutely sound like a humble brag. It's not meant to be at all. It
mhm,
was just this was the situation. This the route that we decided to go down. It was for LIPA, Liverpool Institute of Performing
mm,
Arts, and I'd been accepted there to do drumming. I was like, cool.
mhm.
The cost came in, and I was like, that's insane. Over the course of the next 3 years, it was going to put us into 36 to 40, or me, for,
Yeah.
eventually it was going to be that there, and the cost of that, and I was going, I kindly, my mom and dad were like, we could, but I could see the panic. Or
Yeah.
here's, you've been accepted into drama school in Scotland, and it's free. And so
Yeah.
that was Queen Margaret back in 2005, 2006. And so it's like, okay, what's the choice here? And so we had like, okay, cool, still got a good one there. But I was like,
Yeah.
isn't that insane? Like when people are
Mhm,
there, are the options just immediately limited there purely from the cost of it. Where if I was
mhm.
to probably go with my heart, I would have gone to do drumming because that's the thing. Guess what? It's the thing I still
Yeah.
do. It's the thing I still
Yeah.
love. But it was like the cost of that. So it's amazing that you're able to try and like you identify that because I've not seen anybody
Yeah.
else actually try to address that. Well, the government's saying, hey, go to that, but you've got to have the fortunate few. I was also not I can be critical of them because it's 20 years, like more than 20 years now,
Yeah,
Hardly any Scottish people in that class, like a few,
yeah.
but the majority because they had to pay from down south there because they got to fund it somehow.
And
So
that's the I guess that is the issue with these, like, even RCS, which is an incredible institute, but and their hands are tied. Like, if they could have it all Scottish, they probably would, but the government only funds so much, and they have to rely on international fees, but it's still being priced out, like, what they might take 11 Scottish students a year, but the rest of them have to pay fees because they can't afford to run the school if they don't have that. So, yeah, it's tough, isn't it?
and well done you on trying to bridge that gap. But what I'd like to talk about now is that you are like going back to that idea earlier of it's around identity of
Mhm,
you've got performer Chloe, you've now
mhm,
got director Chloe who runs Proscenium,
mhm.
and there's this other part that you've not brought up yet, but I'm gonna shoehorn it in, which is around that you can describe it. There's probably other director here of some some tech that you're creating there. But what I want to feel free to describe that. But the question I'm bringing to you is that identity change and how have you managed to control that? What have you learned about yourself? What are the difference between Chloe performer to Chloe going director and growing Proscenium to Chloe who is raising investment for this new tech idea that you've got that sounds absolutely phenomenal? The hats that you're having to wear and the aspects of the personality that brings out with you. Can you talk to me about that journey and that identity shift?
Yeah, so currently I am hoping well, we're in very early development stages at the moment, but trying to develop a platform for children and young people all over the world, but hopefully starting out with Scotland and kind of giving those children and young people who have been costed out or it's unaccessible to them, giving them the chance to experience performing arts training on a digital platform first and foremost. So, for instance, children in the Shetlands being able to access just as high quality performing arts training as somebody who lives in central Glasgow or central Edinburgh. Um, and not even just that, even like West Lothian or the tiny little communities bigger, like those little communities that are just a little bit too far away to
Mhm,
access
mhm,
high quality or have it within their community, but it's costed out because they know that they're so niche within their area that they can charge a lot more than anybody else would. So, yeah, trying to kind of bridge that gap on a digital scale, also potentially bringing it into schools with the kind of budget constraints that schools are under, and even I know just now that Scottish high schools are now required that if they want to teach dance within their high school, their teacher, who is a PE teacher, has to have a certain level of their RAD training or their ballet training. So a lot of PE teachers don't have that and were able to offer
mhm.
dance previously, and now they're not. So there's a lot of these kind of arts getting pulled from schools because of budgets and other different things, and being able to offer that within schools and say here's something, and kids who might not be able to access it if they're a carer and they don't have time at night time to go to a class because they've got to care for somebody, or yeah, there's so many different reasons for creating this, but just to make it as accessible as possible. And I was saying earlier on about how it's not about creating a West End star and going, oh, here's a platform that you can access to become a West End star. It's giving them the opportunity to have a taste of it and see if it is something that they're passionate about. Because coming back to how expensive that decision could have been for you, and if that was an acting school that you had been accepted into that was 40 grand and you went ahead with it and put yourself in that debt, and then at the end of it decided that actually this isn't quite right for me. Whereas if you went and done, I don't know, English literature and you dropped out after first year in University of Edinburgh, then you probably wouldn't have as much debt attached to
Yep,
you
yep.
as you would for something else, like performing arts. Um, and also neurodivergent needs. So we've got a lot of kids coming through our doors that drop out very quickly because it is completely inaccessible to kids with neurodivergent needs, where there's loud music. And that is literally the first thing that you walk into a dance class and the
Yeah.
music is loud. It's like, how inaccessible is that for a neurodivergent learner? Or you're asking them to learn harmonies and read off a sheet of paper that has music notes and words that they're just expected to sit there for an hour and do, um, and not have anything to stim with if they need to. Or, there's just so many things in the musical industry that I feel are inaccessible. And being able to give a platform that can kind of bridge that gap as well would be an absolute dream. In terms of kind of identity, it's funny because when I think about it, when I was a musical theatre performer, a lot of my business was built whilst I was still a performer. So I
Mm.
don't think I ever had that feeling of I am starting a business now.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was very much like I'm funding my performing life, and there's no kind of um different identity there until I guess I left performing and decided that actually I'm going to settle down, I'm going to have a family, I'm going to have a baby. Um and I guess that's where my identity changed of, okay, I actually need to make this work full time and make it enjoyable for me. Because I've loved being a performer, but that is now inaccessible to me, which is another story completely of how inaccessible the arts is for mums. Um, but it's yeah, I guess it is that kind of that identity changed at that point. And it wasn't even at the point where I had a baby. It was like, I'm thinking of having a baby and I need to kind of put my director hat on now and make this work for me. Um, and then, yeah, and that kind of was my identity change. And I really struggled with it because I never thought of it as a business that um, was my pure sole focus. And then when it did become that, I really struggled of going, and I kind of procrastinated a lot because I was like, I don't want a job that I need to sit down at a laptop and reply to
Mhm.
people and make it a business. Like I just it done really well through word of mouth. And then when you start like getting into the nitty-gritty of like, oh God, like I actually need to do social media and I need to do this and I need to get leaflets out and I need to do this to make that work, it just became very overwhelming very quickly.
Mhm.
Um, and at that point, I actually decided I'm going to get a job, which is ridiculous. So I ended up working full time at Scottish Widows
Okay.
because I felt like I needed something else to make that enjoyable, if that makes sense.
Right.
So,
Okay. Yeah.
in order to make my business feel enjoyable, I didn't want it to be my sole focus. So, yeah, I got a job and very quickly became burnt out
Yeah.
very quickly, and was heavily pregnant at the time. And it just was like I was working 7 days a week just to try and make it enjoyable, which just didn't make sense by the end. Um, had a baby, and then literally, it's ridiculous when I say it, 7 days after I had a baby, we integrated the business into a university. So it was the Scottish Institute of Theatre, Film, Dance, and TV. Um, and we literally moved into that building. I think I had my baby on the Wednesday, and it was something like the next again Friday, I was back at work, and I had a C-section. And it was like I was waddling about the building, and I was straight back at work. Ugh. And that's when I was like, "What am I doing?" Like, and I basically didn't have a maternity leave because at that point, that then became enjoyable because my little boy was essentially my work.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
actually, it was really enjoyable to be out of being a mum and
Right.
be back in the performing world. So I don't know, it's so funny when I speak it out loud because it sounds absolutely ridiculous, but it was kind of like, I actually love this, and being a mum was almost the thing that kind of made it that director hat work for me because
Yep.
that my baby was my full-time job, and actually my little bit of light was getting out and teaching dance and being in a room filled with kids who loved performing as much as I did. So, yeah, that's when it started to work, and then the university liquidated about a year later, and then we were back out trying to figure it all out again. But we were lucky that we hadn't fully integrated the business side, and it was very much just a kind of we were renting the building, and the kids were going to be the feeder into the university thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So we managed to kind of distance. But yeah, that's, I guess my identity is a bit all over the shop, and it's never been a very linear journey.
Just when you say it there, that it makes complete sense to me. Just
Mm,
the sorry, you went back to work after what? Like that's
no,
like
I know.
I'm thinking of my wife here, and I know everybody's journey is different, and
Yeah,
but at the same time,
I know.
C-section or not, you've just had a baby, and
Yeah,
your body has
I
just
know.
gone through some pretty crazy
Yeah,
changes. And the first like 7 days
yeah,
later, right back at it, let's get dancing,
I know.
or at least
It's
teaching it.
crazy.
It's but that
Yeah.
idea of having that light there and having like I'm putting my wife there in the same thing where she's also a teacher, a primary school teacher, and plays like piano and violin and to a very high standard. But what
Mhm,
she was able to, or what you said there about having that suddenly, your work is the child, and it's our
mhm,
job. It's our both our job. I'm not like men out
mhm.
there. It's
Yeah.
equal, right? With our children, I found that she then navigated back to her piano more. 'Cause it was actually like, "Oh,
Mhm.
this is something I'm really enjoying," before it was like, "Oh, when do I have time to do this?" And suddenly it was like, "How are you finding more
Yeah.
time to do this with
Yeah.
baby here?" And they were thinking,
Yeah.
actually, our son at the time, yeah, I'll use him as the first one, he responded quite well to hearing the piano, or that might like, he had, we didn't know for a while that he was allergic to milk, or, like, had a dairy allergy,
Mhm.
so he was crying all the
Mhm.
time, a all the time, and,
That was my little boy too.
it's
So I
brutal,
feel
it's
you.
so
It
brutal,
is.
and then we
Yeah.
found, like, moments of solace where she'd play the piano and, she's got her, like, 7, 8 pieces that she naturally goes to, and he'd be like, "Oh, this is nice," and I was like, "Oh, keep playing, never stop playing, this is
Yeah.
wonderful."
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was like, "This must be fun for you," and she was like, "Yeah, I really enjoyed that. That's nice, I think I'm gonna do this more because the kids are getting back to it, and I can enjoy it again." And I was like, "Huh, okay, cool. Let's do that." That's really interesting about the journey of motherhood and
Mhm.
intertwined out of all of that. Um, to move along slightly to, back to the performing years, but maybe how it's worked for proscenium as well. It can work for both. Again, doing the scouring of proscenium. Just so I've got this written down properly, it's about one of the core missions for proscenium is giving students a realistic view of the industry, which is which I wish I'd had. Uh,
Mhm.
I I think QMU did a good job. Of the technical talents and everything from that there. I thought it was superb. I wish someone had just sat us down and said, "Hey, look, this is what the reality is gonna be like, and even if it's good, this is the best is probably you are not
Yeah.
gonna be that 1%." That's a lie. Some of them could be, but if Fahrenheit, you're gonna be one of those 1%, and this is what life is gonna be like. By the way, self-employed, doing tax assessments, you need to know it. And I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, no." And, so
Yeah.
what can you tell me, a truth, let's say a hard truth, a journey or difficult decision, something you've navigated through that you wish you knew either during your like as a performer, or when you went, okay, this is what it's like to run the business of Proscenium sans performer.
Guess, yeah, my core value is teaching a realistic view before they get to college or university so that they know what is coming, and they don't get to college and then figure out after 3 years, oh my god, is this what I want, or is this the struggle that I want to go through? And it's so funny because I'm gonna say what I wish somebody had told me, but I actually don't know if I would have listened to it because I was so passionate about theatre and I was gonna be a musical theatre star. And it's so funny because I don't know if I would have tuned into that. Um, but it's funny because it is literally what my journey has been. But everybody says, "Oh, you need to have a muggle job in our industry," and a muggle job is like a real life job, or
Mhm.
like a barista, or a lot of London performers, or an O2 Angel, or there's so many different jobs out there that you can do alongside
Mhm.
performing
Mhm.
art. But as I've got older, and I think that is such a stereotypical thing to say of you need a muggle job, where actually if somebody had said at a younger age for me, you need a side hustle that can work alongside your job, but also create you a stable income that you can do even when you're on that job, that would have been probably the biggest and best piece of advice for me, because I look at, like, it's funny, I've got friends who are on cruise ships, like, in the middle of the sea, and they're running, like, coaching businesses or nutritionist, businesses, or
Yeah.
even, like, one of my my friend's husband became a pilot on a ship, like, he done a course to be a pilot, and, like, it's just crazy that there's pretty much everybody in this industry finds a sideline, but they don't realize that they needed that before. But they kind of went through all of those horrible jobs of being a shop girl and being
Yeah,
this, that,
yeah.
and the next thing, to realize that actually the most important thing is to have a stable income. And how do I provide that alongside my job and enjoy it?
Mhm.
That's really the main thing, because if you have something that you enjoy and you're also performing, it's incredible. Like, that is the most incredible thing to be able to do, is to be able to actually run a business and do the job that you love all together at the same time. So, yeah, I guess not getting a muggle job, but actually developing something that can become a sideline to your performance world, but still give you an income um consistently.
I think that's so. Like, you just described exactly what I did when I was when, like, being on tour and just having, like, "Okay, this is what I've gotta do." It was actually the first digital company that they gave me a job, like, full-time once I decided that, like, acting's not for me. But the idea was they said, "Right, okay, we need you to write, articles for these brands here, and we'll pay you." It doesn't matter now, they don't exist, they've been bought over, so it's, and also many moons ago, it was like, "We'll pay you £15 an article." And I was like,
Mhm,
"Alright, cool. I could do 50, yeah, I could do 3 or 4 a day." And
mhm.
so suddenly
Yeah.
it was just like I was like, "Okay, well, that's 60 quid." And, like, I know some people listening to this going, "60 quid, what even like that?" When you're an actor and every penny counts, and I remember there was one
Mhm,
time living in London where I had to make the choice, and this sounds so dramatic, but this was the choice, whether I save for that audition, later on during the week to get the tube to do everything I needed to get to, or do I eat the next little week
mhm,
and then pay the
mhm.
rent? And I was like,
Yeah.
I've got to make a choice here. Or like we literally are just going down to, okay, what are the 10p noodles at the bottom of, like, not that you're in pot, but those are the decisions. And so I was like,
Mhm,
well,
mhm.
actually I could get 60 quid from this. And if I could do this
Yeah.
3, 4 times a week, like, genuinely, I was like, this is amazing.
Mhm.
I could be mint here. And
Yeah.
they actually, oh, I've forgotten the boy's name. If anybody's listening from Big Mouth Media, he had the long fringe at the time. He was a good looking lad. I've completely forgotten it. Uh, yeah, people know exactly who he is,
Mhm,
media
mhm.
architect. Um, he said, "Hey, Jamie, you gotta slow down. Like, we don't have that much to give you." And I was like, "Man, okay, well, I was really banking on, like, doing this
Yeah, this is
because I was
my
there
new
was all that."
income
But
here.
it made it sustainable. It made it, like, so that you could, like, I could go to that audition. I could, like, if someone says, like, "Hey, we need you in Birmingham in, a few days there, and you gotta get that train," and you're like, "What? How much?" I mean, it's like, even, like, the advice you've just given there is so true, and I wasn't given that at all. It was like, and just to go back to the inaccessibility, the class system that we've kinda touched on, eh,
Mhm.
where, you're mingling with quite upmarket individuals, and I was very aware. I mean, thankfully, in the class I was in, there was a bit of diversity, but it was my first time speaking to a family that, or, like, people that were, hundreds of thousands. Like, I'm pretty sure one of the families were millionaires, and I was just going like, "This is so foreign to me, like, why are you here? Like, you don't have to work, or you don't have to work or whatever," but it was also like, "Oh, that's the
Yeah,
reason you don't have to, so you're choosing to do this," where it's like, "No, this is
yeah.
absolute drive," and all the rest of that there. Phenomenal advice there.
Mhm, mhm,
So, yeah, I actually mentioned a little bit about this earlier, and I was gonna bring it up there, but I thought, "No, no, let's hear this." You've got quite a strict policy of only working with, people who are active performers right now.
mhm.
It might be just due to law, but what was the journey that led you to make that decision for Proscenium and for yourself as well?
I guess, it's funny because a lot of people ask me about that, and I think it stems from when I was younger, having teachers who weren't in the industry at the time and were teaching us things that I guess we really could have done without the trauma of learning stuff that wasn't even relevant to the industry that we were going to step out into. And the industry evolves so quickly, um, and very rightly so should evolve quickly. But a lot of schools end up like me, where the teacher has retired from performing arts and is still teaching what they learned at drama school, or what they think is the right thing to do, or this is how I auditioned and this was the auditions that I was doing, which doesn't add anything to
Yeah.
a current cohort of young people coming up through the ranks. If I'm teaching them something that I was doing back in 2017, that is not going to be relevant to their training now. Um, and for me, that is the most important thing, is that their training stays relevant to the current industry trends. Because as well, like, our industry is also evolving, where actors are finding the voice to say, whoa, like, this is enough. Like, I can't cope with that. Or they're able to actually speak up now. Whereas when I was in the industry, you kept your mouth quiet and you
Exactly,
done
yeah.
what the director told you to do. So I think it's so useful to keep the training relevant, and to have teachers who have just walked out of an audition, and they potentially feel absolutely distraught because the job that they were just in for is going to pay their meal for next week. And to be able to actually get that feeling across to the pupils as well, of it's not all fun and games. Like, this is a really difficult industry to work in. Or they've just come off of a cruise ship for 6 months and they've got a lot of cash in their pocket and they're feeling amazing, but actually now they're back in the audition circuit and they're back, like, working their
Mhm,
socks off. So yeah, I think for me that is the biggest thing, is just keeping it relevant. And even,
mhm.
like, we've just had a panel day where we brought in a lot of, like, panelists from RCS and Knightswood and, like, different places around Scotland, and we brought them into our school to just see what the kids were doing and check that what we were doing is actually current for what
Yeah,
they
yeah.
are needing. Um, and it worked really well. So, and I think a lot of people are like, no, this is my skill and this is what I teach, and that's the only thing that I know. But actually, keeping up with the trends is going to help your pupils massively.
So I know we didn't discuss this, and I'm not meaning to put you on the spot here. It's a question that's come to me now, because so much has changed since my time. Like, it's completely different. I won't even try to pretend to be like I've got
Yeah.
any relevancy there. What I have seen, because I've got a few friends that are still actors and working actors, and I have seen, or at least my observation is that there's a lot more emphasis on self-taping and
Mm.
putting in things that way, which sound great. Like, That I wish
Mm-mm.
that was around instead of having to cart all halfway up and down the country at the time. But,
Yeah,
so that's an involvement of the industry there. And so I guess my question is how do you adapt to the sorry, before I go into the question, there's more other layers I want to give the
yeah.
context for it. There's more on a emphasis on self-taping there. So I think there's
Mm,
a little balance there of being able to give a performance that sometimes, like if you're being asked to do theater or musical theater, where it's generally can be larger, and then you're having to do that to tape, which can sometimes look a little bit silly because you're kind of people are at least people within the industry know that I know what performance I'm getting in the medium that I'm receiving it in.
yeah,
There's tell me, like, feel free to challenge me, push back on all this because it's just observation. I might be way off. Is that there's another emphasis on social media and about like the how often you're out there putting yourself out there. Yeah, you used to have just a CV or a show reel or a voice reel, things like
mhm,
that.
mhm.
Now you've got something you can put out something every single day, so the casting directors can see like, hey, look, you want to see me in this light? Here are 20, if you're posting every day on that for a month, see me as this
Yeah.
character, all that way there. How does a school adapt to this new technology and like social media, self-taping? It's a massive question. So
Yeah. No, no, no.
over to you.
I guess it is that thing of keeping relevant and having people in your teaching cohort who have those expertise or who are going through the change in the industry and are learning very quickly the changes. Um but it is, I guess it's learning yourself of the best way, and you're dealing with kids as well and young people, and how to keep them safeguarded as well is the most important thing, because they do see a lot of actors. And for instance, like I have a friend who is incredible at social media and TikTok, and how she posts literally, as you're saying, every day. She's got like a background rollout where like
Mhm,
it's
mhm.
different colors of backgrounds, and she does like self tape a day until she gets cast as a role and things like that, which is phenomenal. So I guess as well, just having those people that you can then reference in your classes of, this is Frankie, and look at her social media. This is how she is promoting herself, and kind of, yeah, is referencing other people's work as much as you are
Mhm,
learning
mhm.
yourself, to just kind of bring it all together for those kids and young people. And but also like CPD and going to
Yeah.
like Youth Theatre Art Scotland and different like um conferences, and just keeping yourself as up to date as you possibly can. And it is funny because like I've got right now a bunch of there's three girls in our school who have literally just went viral on TikTok because they filmed a dance in their kitchen, and now they're seeing the benefits of, oh my gosh, like this is incredible. But my
Mhm.
head as a parent goes, who's gonna see you on there? Like, this is so
Immediately remind
scary.
when yeah.
Yeah, and it is kind of balancing that of, okay, what can we take into the school, but we also don't want to give them something that can completely throw their safeguarding um off. Or like as simple things as well, like um one of our teachers had said to the kids, like, do you have a WhatsApp group? Because I'll send you, like, we've just filmed a dance, and like you can watch this at your home, and then you can learn it over the course of the week, and then once we come back to class, you can hopefully have been practicing at home with it. And one of the kids was like, oh no, I'm not allowed WhatsApp. And then your head automatically goes, gosh, that's something that we just, like, as an adult, you take WhatsApp for granted and you think,
Yeah,
oh
yeah.
yeah, everybody's got WhatsApp. And then I don't think the teacher had realized how big of an issue they'd caused, because then they take that kid takes it home to the parent and goes, well,
Yeah.
everybody's got WhatsApp. Why have I not got WhatsApp? And why am I not allowed WhatsApp? Because like John said, that you're going to send us a dance and blah, blah, blah. And it then creates that like, oh gosh, right, we really need to solidify our safeguarding and how we
Mhm.
protect parents as much as children. I guess what I'm saying is it's a minefield, really,
Yeah,
and there's
it's
no right or wrong way of learning and bringing things in, because everything's going to have an upside and a downside to it.
I don't envy you with that at all, especially when it's kids involved. It's just a totally alien world to me there. So going back to this, transition, or I say this transition point of working as a director for Proscenium as well as a performer. Now, you said already that you built Proscenium whilst still performing.
Mm.
You also just told me that you had a baby and were back at work 7 days later. So, maybe this doesn't apply to you, but, how do you w the reason why I'm bringing up this question, it's around burnout, because I've spoken with some other founders, and I know some people say that burnout's not real, and I'm like, "Well, like, we're all human." Yes, you can still love what you do and reach a point where it's like, I just can't. I can't." And
Mhm.
how do you avoid that? How do you avoid that? So, my question is, when you're doing this and you're performing, you say, like, cruise ships, can you just give a little bit of background about what a cruise ship contract actually means for someone who might be listening and going, "I don't know what that is. Are you just going on a cruise ship and chilling for 6 months and then coming back? Or what does that mean?" It's not that. So,
Yeah,
it's a lot harder than what you think it is.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
an idea of how did you manage that, and what were the either the methods, the tactics, or that you used to help avoid that burnout so that you could continue to grow it when you came back up, let's say off the road, off the cruises?
Mhm. I will start by saying that I am the worst person to speak about burnout because it happens a lot. And I don't think I've actually got to grips with how not to reach burnout at this point in my life. It's very much an ongoing thing where it's peaks and troughs, and yeah, I'm still navigating what actually like I'm currently doing a master's at the moment whilst building a business and doing edtech. It's like I don't think I am the kind of person that can look from the outer lines and go, you need to slow down. Um, and that is normally my husband going, right, like you are burnt out. And then for him to tell me that I'm burnt out, and then I go, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
um, so yeah, I'm probably the worst person to speak about burnout with. Um, but yeah, a cruise ship contract or um yeah, a cruise ship contract in particular, I guess, is you head off to somewhere to train for 6 to 8 weeks, sometimes even longer than that, sometimes shorter than that, where you're in rehearsals, sometimes like 10 to 12 hours a day, learning shows. For instance, one of my best friends has just come off of a contract that sounded absolutely insane, where she was on a world cruise. Um, and she, in rehearsals, had to learn a show for every week of that cruise. So it's a world cruise for a full year's cruise, and she had to learn a show for every single week. And that was different costumes, different, like everything was different. So at the end of the show, when they got on the ship, they would pack away that show and send it off to a different ship, and then they would reinstall. So then you get on the ship after your rehearsals, and you basically spend like a lot of time installing your shows where you're rehearsing like all day, all night, trying to get like your sound tech and everything to try and get together. Then you're doing your shows in the evenings, and then some cruise ships might ask you to do entertainment during the day, so you
Mhm,
might end up
mhm.
being like the pool entertainer and you're running games during the day, and then you're doing stuff at nighttime, you're doing your shows in the evening, and then some cruise ships even ask you to mingle with your the the holiday goers, so you might be like on the floor until 1 a.m. dancing with a wee old granny who's there with her son and wants to match you up, and you're having to please them, and you're absolutely shattered, and then waking up the next day to rehearse again and to then do it all again. I will preface it with saying that there is a few cruise ship companies who you basically do your show at night and then you can enjoy your day. And once you're kind of into the swing of things, if you're on there for 6 to 8 months, some cruise ship companies do really look after you, and you have a wonderful time and you see the world. And but there's different kind of levels of cruise ship, and yeah, but it's hard work. Like, a
Yeah.
lot of people do think it's just an easy ride to get go on a ship, and yeah, it's a lot. So I guess my kind of career was a lot of tours, international, UK. So I guess I can give you a bit more background on that, where I'll give you one of the companies that I worked for. I traveled down to London for 3 4 weeks, where you don't get any pay for that 3 or 4 weeks. You're literally
Of course.
funding your rent for the 3 4 weeks in central London, and you're full on living in London whilst paying rent in Scotland. Um, you're rehearsing literally 10 hours a day, learning the show so that once you're kind of ready to take it out, you know what you're doing. Then it's kind of packing up the costumes and getting everything ready to tour internationally. And I worked with a smaller scale company, so a lot of it was done by the performers. And then we head off wherever you're going, whether it be Hong Kong, Dubai, wherever you are in the world. And you are for one of the companies, we literally had to tour with a suitcase that was filled with costumes, so and set. So you were like, it wasn't just, oh, here's my suitcase filled with clothes. It was like you're sharing your 20 kilograms with costume and set and
Yeah.
things. Getting them through customs, everything like that. You travel, you get set up in a new place, and then yeah, you're working hours upon hours. Where like we used to it was a kids show that I toured a lot, and we used to be at the theater sometimes for like 5:30, setting up in the morning. Your show's at like 8 o'clock, which is like brutal. You're jumping about a stage at 8 o'clock in the morning, like 9 10 sometimes. And then you would have to break all the set down and then drive to the next place to set up, which could be 3 4 hours away.
Yeah.
And then you're setting it up again, and then you might set up at nighttime, so you've driven 3 hours, and then you're building the set at night, and then you're getting back to your hotel, sleeping, and then the same again every day. So yeah, it's a lot. Like, when people think of performing, I think they just think of, oh, you're dancing on a stage and you're having fun. And that is like one of the biggest parts, and that is the part that we all love, and you wouldn't change that for the world, but it's everything that goes with it is tough. Um and I guess, yeah, building a business on top of that. I mean, don't get me wrong, there was so many days where I'd be doing emails by the swimming pool and thinking that I was an absolute boss, where I'm like, "Oh my
Yeah.
god, these people in Scotland, and I'm here replying to their emails by the pool or sipping a cocktail and having the best time of my life." But those were very few and far between, I guess. Um, and yeah, it's stressful, and I'm very lucky that I've got a husband who was kind of willing to get involved with it when I was away, and he
Mhm.
kind of took a lot of that stress off of me whilst I was away. But I've rambled on about performing a lot. I guess the burnout aspect of it all, yeah, as I say, I'm still navigating that, and there's been so many times where I've just wanted to give up and think I need a 9 to 5 job, and a 9 to 5 job will give me stability, and I can shut my laptop at nighttime. I say that, and I know for a fact that's not how it is either.
I hear.
But sometimes it does, when you're getting WhatsApp calls from parents at 12 o'clock at night and you're having to answer them. Well, you don't have to answer them, but I'm very
Used
much a
to,
person
yeah.
who would. Um, or you're getting texts from kids to say that they didn't get into their dream drama school, and you go through that grief with them on a weekend that you're meant to be off. And there's a lot of it that takes it out of you without even realizing that it is. And yeah, there's so many times where I'm like, this is it. Like, I'm shutting the doors and I'm giving up. But it always comes back to the kids. And I always say to my husband, I feel like I've got 100 kids, because every single kid that walks through our doors, I feel so protective over them that I'm like,
Mhm, mhm.
God, I can never give up on you. Like, I can't give up on you. Like, and it feels like a personal vendetta if I'm like, I'm gonna shut it. And then I'm like, but what about such and such who's just about to sit their exams? And what about this person who just dreamed of being in this show at the end of term? And there's so much of it that it keeps me going. But yeah, I'm still navigating how to figure out when I get to that place of, gosh, this is intense and I need to find something. I'm a big fitness geek, so I do love to get to the gym, but it's few and far between when I can. Yeah.
Well, that's very honest with you. Of like, say, actually, I struggle with that because I'm also the same. Of like, yeah,
Mhm,
identifying. I've got better, absolutely got
mhm,
better, but it's willing to act on it. And
mhm.
I know my initial thought is just work through it, just get through it. It's fine. You're gonna be all right. Like
Yeah.
you're gonna be okay. And then actually go, oh no, wait, I'm not. Boom. And it's like, oh,
Mhm.
now we've got to go through the recovery point again and crack on with it there. When if you can just identify it, and there's going to be lots of other
Yeah.
uh, founders out there that will say, "Ah, good," or not good. Someone else has also not figured it out yet.
Yeah.
Someone's doing,
Yeah.
somebody's doing, and finding those tactics there. And I'm interested in because this is about personal and professional growth here, and I've spoken to this about to other founders. However, you're probably going to be more adept to this than most, because I'm about to say, with performing arts, you get a lot of rejection.
Mhm,
You get a lot of
mhm.
you get a lot of no's, and everyone says you just need one yes, and you do, and crack on with there. But you get a lot of no's. I'm interested to know from either the performing arts side or from Proscenium, or even with the edtech that you're working on just now. If any no has have you been able to transpire into something positive? And where you're able to take like, "Oh, actually, I'm glad that that was a no, it spurred me either to learn this or take that route instead." Can you describe anything from one of those 3 facets?
Yeah. I guess as you say, like as a performer, there's so many no's that I guess all of those no's probably accumulated to give me the resilience now that
Mm,
I am very much a person that if someone says no to me and it's a hard no, I can shut a door very quickly and go, okay, what's the next thing I'm going to do then?
yeah.
Um, and as a kid, that was definitely not the way that I would feel. I remember I auditioned for Knightswood, which is like a specialized school for, it's called the Dance School of Scotland. And kids go there and they do musical theatre alongside their schoolwork. Um, and I auditioned there, I think it must have been about 6 times. And it was like you could only audition really 3 times, but I would always go back and say that I would resit my school year just to go there. So I was like, first year, I would audition for first year. If I didn't get in, I would go back in second year and say, I'm happy to do first year again. And then it was like third year. Okay, I can do third year. And then I didn't get in, so I could do third year again. I'm so happy to do it. And then with sixth year, I done the exact same thing. And I just think it broke me because every time they would be like, "Come back next year, you're gonna have a better chance." And I worked my socks off the whole time of that full year, just working for those auditions of what are they gonna want, what are they gonna want to see in me. And I think one time I got to callbacks, and I was like, "This is it. This like I'm gonna get in this year." And I never got in. And I just remember thinking, what on earth? Like, my world is destroyed. Like, that is all I've ever wanted was to go there. And the first day of college that I walked in, so I went to Motherwell College for a year. And the first day I walked in there, there was 2 people from Knightswood there who had just graduated. And I was like, you're where I'm at. Like, how are
Mm,
you here? Like, you've done what I wanted to do and now you're still at the same college as me. That's like, it's not a private college. We're here, like, and I was so confused because I was like, wait a minute, like, you done what my dream.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
we're still here together. We're still training together. And I think that was the first point that I realized, like, whatever your journey, it really doesn't matter because, it, like, if you've got a PhD or you have a BA or you just went to college and got an HNC, like, you can still get into the same rooms as other people if you're a nice person, if you work hard, if you're good at what you do again. There's so many other ways that you can get into a room without having to go like the very like specific route that you think is the route that will get you there. And I guess that is like one of the no's that would teach me that lesson for the rest of my life, that if you get a no, it's not the end of the world because you're still going to be where other people are at and have maybe done your dream route to get there, but you can still get there. It'll just be a roundabout way, or you might need to go round the roundabout a few times to find your exit, you know? Um, so yeah, that was probably the biggest one that I can think of that made me as resilient as I am today. When I get a no, it's very much like, okay, well, what else? What else can I do to get there?
It's such a I'm a big advocate for that line of thinking. Like mourning or thinking about like, oh, I'm holding on to that and going, what if that? I'm like, no, just get rid of it. It's not a good use of energy. There will be like you can go open other doors, and I
Mm,
love that you've seen about that journey and all sorts because I've seen it in other places where like where being slightly younger in a more senior boardroom and thinking like, oh, they think I've got some sort of marketing PhD or whatever. I got none of that.
yeah,
I got
yeah,
nothing.
yeah,
I got nothing for
yeah,
you here. All I've got is some experience and like hopefully a little bit of conviction when I talk.
yeah,
Probably helps being a
for
man and
sure.
white and all that jazz, but I'm like it's all that there seems to be working in my
Yeah.
favor. But I'm
Mhm,
like,
mhm,
but there's other people here that have. I'm not saying, oh, great, you can do whatever you want with that. Like you've got to put the work in there. And I'm going, okay, there's different routes you can get there. You can still get there. It just won't look the same. And
for
I'm
sure.
I'm really interested to know in if you could go back to, let's say, first day out of Motherwell College, and you're like, okay, I'm about to embark on the world, about what advice you would give to, let's say, baby Chloe, with everything that you know now and the journey that she's been on. What maybe you wouldn't. Any guidance, advice, thoughts, thoughts for her to take her on her journey.
I guess for me, the biggest thing that I'm still learning as well is just to congratulate yourself and
Mhm.
to acknowledge the wins and the highs, because there's, I guess, such a fast-paced world that we live in where you do something that I guess 6 months ago you were dreaming of and you were working extremely hard to get to, and you achieve that, and then it's very quickly left and you've moved on to the next thing. And it is funny because I think of it just now where myself and my husband just built a house, and we were staying in rented accommodation, and we had our baby in the rented accommodation. It was freezing, and we were building our dream house, and we moved into our dream house, and then all of a sudden we were like, let's move abroad, let's go, like, okay, what's the next thing? And it was very quickly, right, we've done that, move on. We never You never stop to go, look at what we've done. Look at the last 5 years of our life. We have sacrificed so much. Like, we have done an incredible job to stay together and to get to this place. Look at what we've achieved, and like how, I guess, like, how are you going to congratulate yourself on that and just stop and take a minute and take a breath and go and acknowledge your achievements? Because yeah, there's a time that a different part of you really wanted what you've got right this instant. Um, and so much of our lives we never ever acknowledge that. Um, yeah, that, I guess, I'm still learning that as well to this day.
That's a hard lesson to learn, though. It's and
Mm,
usually it's I find it usually take this with a pinch of salt there. The high achievers that are like, hey, I'm on to this thing, that. They
mm,
achieve something, go, okay, what's next? Keep going, keep going. Never
mhm.
content with what they've got. And
Yeah.
whilst I can appreciate that line of thought, I think there's something nice about just being like, as you say, take that breath and go, where am I?
Mhm.
And maybe it's a
Mhm.
reflection. I'm a big, big
Yeah.
advocate as well for reflect. How did you get there? Okay, yeah, instead of
Mhm.
just jumping to that next thing, can you plan out, okay, what does that then look like? That rush, rush,
Yeah.
rush, and then going, I should have appreciated, because as well as you're going to that next goal, you are going to hit that low,
Mhm.
more
Mhm.
likely you're going to hit that low again and go,
Yeah.
man, that high was nice though, right?
Mhm.
And sort of,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
living that, but yeah, I guess that's being in the moment and going, yeah,
Mhm.
this is super nice to have. Anyway, I say this to every one of our guests, where it usually takes a village to get someone to the success they're having right now with, okay, see you later, past performing life. You're now director of Proscenium, that seems to be like going places there. You're working
Mhm.
on your edtech products, going into the early stage of investing. That's all such a, like, those are impressive things that some people just have an idea in their head and they never really get it off the ground. You've got quite a
Yeah.
few things going. Um, I say it usually takes a village to help people. You've already mentioned a few people here that have been able to, like your husband, Lucy there. I
Mhm.
like to like end these sessions by giving like on positivity and having the opportunity to say thank you and kudos to people who have been there with you on your journey. So
Mhm.
is there anybody that you'd like to shout out just now as a thank you for doing what they may have done for you?
Well, I guess it's a given that I would thank my parents time and time again for all of their support over the years for sure. But there's definitely three people, I guess, in the industry that have really supported me and got me to where I'm at. One being, so after Motherwell, I went to the MG Academy of Performing Arts, and the kind of principal there, Marcella McDonald. I went through a really tough time at college. My mum was really poorly, and I was kind of navigating this, not a carer role, but my dad worked a lot and I was very much there for my mum, and my sister was at university, and there was a lot of days where I was
Yeah.
in rehearsals 10 hours a day in rehearsals and going home to kind of take my mum to A&E, or there was so many days that were really tough at college. And I always remember going into Marcella's office and just crying very often. And she was always there to pick me up. And then ended up that um when we moved to the Scottish Institute, she was the principal there and became my mentor in business there, which was phenomenal. And it was just such a journey for the both of us to go on. And now she's a really good friend, which is crazy to think that when I was at college, my principal would have been my friend. So definitely Marcella, and also my agent, Susie Dunbreck, who uh, was my teacher. So she used to teach me at college and then went on to become my agent, and also a friend now, where she was such an advocate for me. And I just like, I look at kids now or young people who have got agents who they feel like they are working for their agent, which just blows my mind because I'm like, you're the one that's getting the jobs and you're the one that's providing your agent with an income. Whereas my relationship with Susie was never like that. And it was very much, well, what's your journey? What do you want to go on? Where can I help you open doors? And she
Mhm,
always put
mhm,
me in, she never put me in a room that I felt out of my depth in, which I really would thank her for now, because sometimes you get put in rooms and you're a lot of um performers that I know now are like, oh my God, I really shouldn't have been in that room. Like it was a dance call for something that I absolutely hated. But she was always the person that would push me, but not to a point where I felt that I shouldn't have been there, or she just knew so well. And even over the years, even now, if I decided to go into performing, I know for a fact I would pick up the phone, have a coffee with her, and I would probably be back on her books tomorrow, which
mhm,
is
mhm.
such an incredible place to be. And she's just the most wonderful woman ever. So yeah, definitely thank you to Susie for helping me in my performing career, and a lot as well to, so one of the directors and producers I worked with a lot and gave me a lot of work, Julian Chenery down in London, and he was just incredible. And a lot of people like maybe don't bond with him 'cause he's a very niche person, but I just found this sense of belonging with him, which is a really strange place in this industry to get to, but a lot of people felt like that with him, and
Mm.
his family was like a family-run business, and even like, when the Scottish Institute shut, he was the first person that I phoned, which is so strange to say, and I was just like, "What am I doing? Like, where am I going?" And he's just always been an advocate for my business, um, and I guess being on tour internationally and having a producer and a director who understands that you're also running a business, and he was just so supportive of everything that we done, that even now, like, he still sends Christmas cards, and it just like the loveliest person and mentored and guidance to have in within this industry especially, is really, really difficult to find those kind of people who are higher up than you in that industry. Yeah, there's definitely those 3 people stand out immensely within the industry and this kind of, yeah, this career that I've kind of went on. They've kind of stayed with me throughout from the journey, from the beginning to the end and beyond.
That is so nice about what you say about having, like, your principal become, like, your friend, and I think a lot of others in, like, the performing arts and the schools they go to, I know I formed an attachment to our, like, our head of acting at that point there,
Mhm,
and totally so because you do get, I'm looking for a better word here, but you're so intimate in terms of,
mhm,
like, what they're
mhm,
seeing for you every day where you've got highs, lows, sometimes in the same day where they're seeing you, like, you're giving your all to, like,
mhm,
some class or there's a show that you're working on, whatever that looks like, or you're having to learn. Like, you're also going through, like, I can think of one part for me where I was like, "I am sucking at this," and he just
mhm,
kept me going the whole time of like, "No, this is quite good. You're gonna unlock it, and when you do, it's gonna be wonderful." I didn't know if I ever did, but he said it didn't feel like I did, but he said, "I think you've got it. That's it." And I was like, "Cool." I don't feel like it at all, but thank you for because if you weren't
yeah,
there saying that, I know I would have given up a long time ago because I was like, "I'm just not getting it."
yeah,
But it's
yeah.
that connection is something that's so special, and you'll have that forever. Um,
Mhm,
Chloe,
mhm.
thank you so much for your time. To wrap up here, where can people find you, and what is next for Proscenium? What's next for you?
So you can find us on Instagram, TikTok, uh, Facebook under Proscenium or Proscenium SS, I think a lot of it. So Proscenium Stage School. Um, or we've got a website, Proscenium Stage School. Our business is definitely growing and I don't know where it's gonna go. I don't know. We're actually currently rebranding at the moment. We're keeping Proscenium, but I'm not sure what the umbrella of the brand is going to look like, um, which is really exciting. We've actually just ran a little competition with our kids to design a new logo, and there's a lots going on behind the scenes. So yeah, I really don't know what the future holds for Presidium or for me, but there's stuff going on, and I really hope that it's gonna go up the way and not burn out in
Yes,
in the near
Blair.
future. I'm sure it won't, but yeah, we're getting I don't know. It's such a vague question in my mind because I guess there's so much going on that I don't quite know where it's gonna go.
That's exciting. That's the exciting part. We're going, I don't know, you're on
Yeah,
the rails and you're going far, but, there's a
yeah.
lot of moving parts that could fall off, but you're gonna do your best to keep them on. I love that. Well, Chloe, thank you so much, and thank you for once again lending us your eyes, your ears to Think Bamboo podcast. I am truly grateful for all of you, and Chloe, take care, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.